Welcome, everybody. I'm going to just give us a couple more minutes for the people that are coming in, and then to respect everybody's time, we're going to dive right on in. So welcome. We'll be with you in just a moment. All right. Well, I will hop on in because the way my camera is, I can't see as people are joining in. I want to respect everybody's time here. So first of all, thank you everybody for taking some time today to join us. We're really looking forward to sharing a few ideas, some of the things that we think you really should know more about, and hope that we can help you maximize your enjoyment of being part of MDRT. So it is really my pleasure and privilege to introduce the people that are going to be speaking here today. These are people that are both colleagues that I respect and friends that I'm so glad to have met. So I'm Adrian George. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. I am the country chair, and I've been an 11-year member of MDRT. And speaking with me today will be Nick Cassis, who I like to jokingly call Mon Capitaine, who was my director when I was an assistant director, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but he hails as a community leader from Dartmouth. And he is also an 11-year member. Elke Rubach, I've had the pleasure of knowing for a number of years now, both in other organizations and happily also with MDRT from Toronto, Ontario. And she is a focus area specialist on my community leaders team, or what we call the MCC Canada. And certainly not last and least is Thomas. Thomas and I have had some wonderful times together, and I'm really excited for you to hear about his experience in working. He's a community leader also in Toronto, Ontario, and he's got some great things to share about getting involved. So moving on from here, the best way that I can think to say this is just welcome. A global community is here to welcome you. Now, it might sound a bit weird, but there's over 82,000 members of MDRT worldwide. And in Canada alone, we increased our membership over 28% last year, which is a real challenge in an online environment where everybody's fighting for space. And so one of the things that I really hope is that you're going to learn and share and engage and connect. You know, my early years of being a member, my big regret was not getting involved early. And we will talk about that a little bit later. But that's my big regret, because I went and some great information and I kind of left inspired and had a lot of ideas. But when my production really started to grow, was when I was connected with people like Nick and Elke and Thomas. And now we share ideas and we encourage each other. So I really hope that you'll take advantage and grab hold of people that say, hey, you know what, let's go have a chat about what we just heard. So our current president, Ian Green, hailing from England, has a little message for you. So we're just going to take a minute here and hear his welcome.
Hello, I'm Ian Green, President of MDRT, and welcome. Congratulations on becoming a member. MDRT is an amazing organisation. Its members are some of the finest people I've ever met. MDRT's DNA is sharing of ideas, sharing of best practice, sharing of strategies, and sharing of encouragement. Throughout my 20 plus years as a member, the people I've met and the ideas I've received at MDRT have propelled me forwards, enabling me to reach new heights of professional success, while also showing me how to create a well-rounded life outside of work through MDRT's whole person concept. Well, I'm thrilled that you've decided to join MDRT. I encourage you, jump in, get involved. In my experience, I've always found the more we give, the more we receive. Join a book club, participate in a virtual LAN event, download the app and plan to attend one of our upcoming meetings. Begin to tap into the wealth of resources and the incredible community of MDRT members available to you. You won't regret it. MDRT has community leaders throughout the United States and Canada who are available to answer your questions, help you, and connect you to MDRT's many offerings. I'm excited for you, your continued personal development and your business growth, and I'm delighted to welcome you to MDRT.
So a couple of things that Ian mentioned there, that app, I going back up to this page. That app, which I show right here, and I'll show on a later page, and the book clubs, and getting involved and sharing ideas really is the DNA. And being able to share and having those peer relationships, like it mentions here, they really do make an impact. And so as we go through on the next page, the number of steps that you can use to really take advantage and put your production into overdrive, and also, if I may say, your enjoyment. Do take a note of what's there, and we're going to go through those individually, but at the same time, I really hope that you'll just dig in and realize that there's a whole team of community leaders and your peer colleagues and advisors that are really there to help you achieve more. So if there's one screen that I would say take the screenshot of or write it down, these are them, and we'll go into a little bit more detail on some of these. But the MDRT mobile app, which I'll show you on the next screen, there's a local area network event. Those ones are phenomenal. The last one, which I'm also show you in just a moment, was really actually one of my favorite authors on behavioral finance, which is fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit about the book club and really what those are. And so Nick's going to be speaking a bit more towards that. The annual meeting or the edge, and really, even though we're in an online environment, just wow, when you actually attend those ones, you're in for a real treat. And Elke is going to chat further about that one. We have the MDRT Foundation as well, which has done charitable work all over the world. And I'm going to pick on both Thomas has been talking about volunteering and the impact that has had on him. And I'm going to say one other thing as I go forward on this one, which was that Nick and I, maybe 2 years ago, I can't remember now, but 2-3 years ago. And I was asking him to join on to my team. And Nick's comment was basically, you know what I've realized after this many years with MDRT? I say yes, and then I figure out how to get it done, because I've always found that it's been a great enhancement, both professionally and personally. So my great regret was not volunteering until about 5 years ago. And ever since then, not only has my production increased, but I've really, really much more enjoyed my time. So with that app, what I wanted to show you here, what I've really liked about the apps, and I try to make this a habitual thing for me to do, because when I go into there, there's a number of things we can see. First of all, it has things that are curated for you. So as it gets, you like certain things, it's going to learn, well, you like these ones, don't like those ones. But you can see if it's a 2-minute read, a 3-minute video, maybe something just very, very quick hits. You can follow what other people are following. So, hey, what did Nick like? What did Elke or what did Thomas like? And I can see what they're liking, and they can share it out, and you can promote it with others as well. So you really get a sense of everything from time management to process to prospecting, all sorts of different ways to enhance. The local area event, or call LANS, local area networking event, the last one that we just held was with Timothy Holland and then Daniel Crosby, Dr. Daniel Crosby, who's written a number of books that I quite enjoyed. And they did this really neat one of the heart and mind. So Tim played the heart of the mind, and so Daniel was the heart, he was the markets rather, and Daniel was the mind and the way that we might react to certain things. And it's amazing how that hour just goes like that. So these ones, as Thomas will indicate later, are up on our Facebook page. We also try to push them out to people, so they will hopefully be able to attend. And I strongly encourage that you do. Daniel Crosby with his books are ones that I find must reads. And it's a nice little segue, if I may, Nick, I'm going to pick on you for just a moment to share your experiences with the book clubs.
Yeah, thanks, Adrian. And hello, new MDRT members. Welcome to the organization. So MDRT book clubs are relatively a new addition to the MDRT offerings, but they've very quickly become one of the more popular extracurricular programs within the organization. I was hesitant at first to join a book club. I love to read, wanted to dig in more into books that would help me grow both personally and professionally, but I wasn't really sure I wanted to add something else to my already busy schedule. So, we all tend to get busy doing what we do in the business, that we often find it difficult to step back and invest in our growth and take time to work on the business. As Adrian has said, I have a tendency to say yes to pretty much everything MDRT offers me. And I knew that part of my struggle in reading was that I don't really make it a priority. And I've been finding it difficult to find what I would consider good material. The book club idea solved both of these for me, in that it would help provide me with quality, relevant books that other top producers have found of value. And it would provide me an accountability to ensure that I made reading the book a priority in my calendar. Also, with the world pretty much shut down over the last year, it's been a great time for me to focus more on refining my business and These books have been amazing at helping me through that process. My group's currently made up of 5 MDRT members, and most of us are in the same age bracket, in the same stage of our career, which is fantastic. I wasn't able to pick which group I was placed in, but this worked out great because while I had friends in the group, I was able to meet other MDRT members who I might not have otherwise met or developed a relationship with. And as has been said, having connections with other MDRT members for me has been a huge driving force in the success of my business. And I'll take any opportunity possible to grow my MDRT social network and learn from others. So as a group, we schedule our Zoom meetings based on the books we've chosen to read. But we tend to meet about every 4 to 8 weeks to discuss either all of or a portion of whichever book we're reading at the time. The main advantage to these meetings really is getting the perspective of the other members in the group and how they've interpreted what they read, parts that they found valuable, and areas where they feel they can implement what they've learned into either their personal life, their professional life, or both. It's kind of like I've read the book 5 different times because I get my own perspective plus that of the other 4 members during the course of our Zoom calls, which means much more in the way of takeaways and ultimately overall growth. Our first member moderator picked the first book we were to read, which was called Start Finishing by Charlie Gilkey. What a book to get started on. After that, we would either take turns choosing a book, or as a group, we would decide from a number of suggestions which one we would read next. Typically, these suggestions are for books that have been sitting on people's desks and they haven't been able to get to it yet. So the book club's a great excuse to make it a priority. We've read Atomic Habits by James Clear. We've read Traction by Gino Wickman. I could go on and on. They've all been books that I probably wouldn't have chosen to read on my own. And I haven't, to this point, been disappointed with anything that I've read. Some have been harder than others. This book, Influence by Robert Cialdini, scared the crap out of me. But most of them have just been mind-blowing in the content that they've delivered. And I've enjoyed every book and, of course, the conversation that ensued through the group. The tools I've gained from reading these books have helped me make my work life and my daily routines more efficient and effective. And they've helped me to communicate better and ultimately have made a positive impact outside of my work life as well. A side benefit to being in these groups is that the books inevitably spur on side conversations where we get to discuss other areas where maybe we have found challenges or we're struggling or we're looking to implement new ideas or concepts or processes. And the group, through these books that we're reading, give us that other forum where we can discuss these things and give each other advice and support. As Ian said, the single biggest advantage of being an MDRT member, especially for me, has been the sharing of ideas and how we will all do what we can to support each other. And a membership in the book club is really a great extension to that model. What's also interesting is that many of the books we've read tend to have some aspect of overlaps. So we'll often find that if we're reading something in one book, it's building on or growing something we've read from another book. And another kind of neat side point is when you're reading a book or books that are from authors that will be speaking at MDRT main events or who have in the past. The next book we're doing is Start With Why from Simon Sinek, and he's one of the speakers who's going to be at this upcoming annual meeting. So I strongly urge you to join a Facebook or join a book club with MDRT. Get involved with any of the things that you're hearing about today. The more you get involved, the more you'll benefit from your membership. And if you don't know where to begin, reach out to us. We'll be sure to get you whatever you need. Back to you, Adrian.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much. I know, Nick, you and I often talk about clients, but we just have to be able to have that bit difference of opinions or perspectives, and being able, or Thomas, you and I have chatted along those lines. It's just wonderful to be able to have those perspectives of people that, they're like, hey, yeah, why don't we try this? And some of those ideas that come from the book club, I think some people had the misunderstanding that this was going to be just, reading sort of novels and discussing, but these are all professionally and personally very motivating, engaging books, and ones that kind of challenge you a little bit, which is, I think, the best one. And to take it a step further, the people that I've met in my group, I think we have about 7 or 8. We've got one person from England, we've got one person from Hawaii, the rest, from Canada and the US. We quite look forward to it. It really has that sense of connectivity, especially in these times. So the one thing that I really wish that people who remember last year or remember this year, the annual meeting is not to be missed. Like, there's so much great information. Yes, it would have been wonderful if we could have all been together, because when you're sitting there surrounded by 12 to 15,000 of your closest friends you never knew you had, it is really an experience. But I'd like to turn this over to Elkin. I'm hoping that you can share some of your experiences. First of all, what are these events, and your experiences having attended them from when what you thought going into it, and where you are now.
Yes, thank you, Adrian, and hello, everyone. Welcome to MDRT. Well, so I joined MDRT at a very interesting time because it was the first year that it was so large that they then had to create MDRT Edge. So here I am in the middle of the LA Convention Center, gigantic as American convention centers can be, surrounded by indeed 15,000 people, me and my backpack, and it was a bit overwhelming, but it somehow, all of the volunteers at MDRT know how to find the collection of misfit toys the first years and make you feel welcome. So it is a little bit overwhelming, but very quickly you feel you belong. And they do insist, and I agree that the best way to get out of MDRT the full potential is by volunteering, because there's so much to be done, learned, exchanged, figure out, think about things differently, that unless you dive into a little piece of it, it is overwhelming. So it was a very interesting conference. It was all about sharing ideas, growing your practice. There was a very human approach to building your business. And I never got the sense of big attitudes of, I never had a bad day in building my business, or, you are too young, or you are too old, or you are too nothing. Like, everybody's there, everybody's having fun, everybody's happy to see each other because it's like an annual event that we look forward to. And so that was the first one. And then came MDRT Edge, from which I came back seriously floating, because the quality of speakers, the closeness of the group, the similarities between practices. I mean, it's a lot closer, somebody in Boston than somebody in Shanghai, but still you have people from all over the world doing their business, and with the ultimate idea of having the client in mind and growing the practice and doing things right. I think that's what unites us. So that was spectacular. And my second event was I was supposed to be in Miami, but I couldn't make it to that meeting. And I think the last Edge was in New York, and that was fun. I do miss the travel. I do miss seeing people. I think all in the committee agree that once this is open, hugs will fly around to a strange point. So we will all be weird, but we're all friends. We collaborate. I don't think anyone at MDRT sees the other as competitor. It's friendly. It's, how can I help you? Have you thought of this? Have you built this? Have you tried that? Well, I tried this, but that didn't work. Have you reached out to such and such? So it's an eternal, how can I help you attitude. And I think particularly during COVID, MDRT has played a big role in my business, because I never felt alone. And in this time, you are responsible for your team and your clients and their emotions. And I know that with a click of a go-to meeting or a Zoom or whatever you want to call it, there's somebody on the other line that is probably on the same boat, or has done something that worked, or tried something that I may want to try myself too. So it's a very friendly environment, and really, the more you get involved, the more you get out of it. So I know that there's we did this event. So for you guys that are it's your first year, you can take advantage of the first annual event. I mean, the quality is great. The work that has gone into putting this together is titanic, but you need to live it to understand exactly what we're talking about. And if you can get to, let's hope, Philadelphia in November, please, I'm willing to walk there just to make it happen. But try it out. It's again, you need to experience it to understand what it is, but take our word for it. It's cool and it's fun, and you get a few days off.
Thank you, Elke. Yeah, it's I've often asked, because I'm also I'm a member. Well, actually, I think actually Nick and Elke and I were members of KLU, and maybe members of STAP and stuff like this. And why would you go to these ones as well? And I always find there's two sides of the same coin, right? We need all the technical information, but we're everything. We're prospecting, we're marketing, all the soft skills. That's what I get when I come to these events. And so the annual meeting is, when it's in person, is this big stage, and then you go to the breakout sessions afterwards. But the MDRT Edge is pretty cool because it's much more intimate, about 500 to 1,000 Canada and US advisors, and it's much more in a workshop kind of a basis. Would you agree? Like you have a table facilitator. I know I've been one a few times. You're listening to the speakers, and then you come back to your table. We have workbooks. What do we discuss? And so you're really engaging with other people and talking about what you heard. One of the things actually that I've always really enjoyed, I think the three of you would probably find the same thing, is sometimes you go to a session, you're like, oh, this isn't quite what I had in mind, or maybe it just wasn't landing for you the right way. And what's neat, the way they have that set up, is you can get up, walk about 50 feet, click the channel, because they have 4 different speakers on different channels, and all of a sudden you're in the next room 50 feet away from you, listening to that presenter. And it's really quite a neat experience. So I strongly encourage people, if you're looking for the annual meeting, do register before May the 5th, because that's when early registration ends. We're going to be hosting a pre-meeting, kind of a little get together, and who are the speakers, what are we looking forward to? But what I'm really looking forward to as well is hosting one afterwards for people that attended, and saying, look, what were those great ideas? Because I'll be moving on forward in just a moment, but my big tip, when I first went to these meetings, I wrote booklets of everything, and then I didn't implement anything at all because it was just too much. Nowadays, I still write the whole book, but I pick the top 3, and I have 2 other colleagues that they pick their top 3s, and then we put those into the hat, and we not only figure out which ones we want to implement, but we hold ourselves accountable. So for those that are looking to attend the annual meeting, please do let us know. We will hopefully be able to keep an eye out for you anyway. We want to welcome you. And at the same time, we're going to have a pre and post meeting one, just more of an intimate, typical Zoom one where we're just chatting and what do we like and what are we looking forward to seeing. And then the Edge, yes, I'm with you, Elke. If that's any way to make that hook or by crook in person, I definitely want to be there, because Edge is just, it's so neat. It's so different. So actually, it was Miami, was it not, Thomas, that I got the first opportunity to meet up with you. And boy, what a superstar you've, well, this turned out to be, not like you weren't at the time, but you've really taken off. You're now looking at quarter, even top. And I think your enjoyment has really increased. So Thomas, could I get you to talk just a little bit about that? We keep talking about getting involved and volunteering, but could you share your perspective from when you got involved? And you're muted, my friend. Thomas, you're muted. Yeah, there we go.
That would have been fun, right? It was the excitement of being in camera, seeing myself. Now at least you could see me and listen. But thank you so much, Adrian, and welcome members and everybody who's a guest at this forum. Yeah, what can I tell you? Adrian just stopped me, asked me, push me, because I have all these organized thoughts in my head. But what I want to say is that I'd like to also share the way Elke started my story about my intimate relation with MDRT, right? Like after being 20 years or 22 years in the business with one leg in, one leg out, finally I made it to MDRT. And that was in 2015, New Orleans. And there was a before and after in my life. I was like a child, a 5-year-old for the first time in Magic Kingdom, if you could picture the idea of what I'm saying. I was so excited that I couldn't believe what I was living and surrounded by. And it really took me a while to calm down and understand it. That happens perhaps in the second MDRT attendance, in which I realized I love this, and now I'm getting a hold of where I want to go and in my career, in my future. I got for the first time a clear roadmap in my head about my life, my future, right? And that's my take. And what happened to me, not necessarily is going to happen to you as a first-time attendee or as an MDRT member, because I always say that in life, everything that we undertake with a goal, then we have the byproducts, right? And in my case, the byproducts were that I was very clear with the whole person concept of what were the 3 most important things that I wanted to do. And since then, when I figured that out, every day I wake up, I want to make sure that I move my ASS, which are the 3 most important things in my life, which are my art, my sales, and my speaking. I like to public speak, I like to draw and paint, and I like to sell. So those are the three main focuses that I gained that clarity thanks to MDRT. On my third attendance, I realized that I wanted more. So someone told me, you could volunteer, go a day earlier. I said, you're crazy, I could go a month earlier. I like this so much. So I went a day earlier and I met Nick. And I said, Nick, I don't know what I'm doing here. They told me that I should be here to help and volunteer. Let me know what I can do. And he says, do you speak other languages? He says, yeah, I do. I said, okay, I have a job for you. Don't worry, just do what I say. And then the year after, when I was with you, Adrian, that was amazing. It was like the best MDRT attendance of my life because it was very significant for me. I had an amazing speaking engagement opportunity at that event. And I also had the privilege of making friends with you, Adrian, and being chosen the volunteer person of the event, which was significant. So you want to ask yourself why MDRTers want to continue to be MDRT members and come year after year after year. Well, I think that there are three things that change us as characters, as our personalities in our lives. And the three things are the people you meet, the books we read, and the experiences we have. And MDRT, just like we heard a moment ago, gives us all that. And that's why we want to keep coming and coming and coming. Do we have the resources? We just talked about it. And like Coach Dan Sullivan says, we as MDRTers have an unfair advantage, not just because of all these resources that are available to us, but also the friends, the connections, the people we meet, the opportunities to have mentors that otherwise would be unreachable. This is like family. We all talk about connection, but this is family. This is like a good family. I know that some families have some disruptive relations, but this is like a good family, and everybody wants to make sure that we all grow and we're on the same page. There's no competitions that could be inside your agency or your office. Anybody could help you. It doesn't matter if it's in the same country or in another continent. It's something that's unparalleled, and I don't think that any other industry has this ability of having this type of forum called $1 Million Roundtable. What can I tell you? If you are going to join in volunteering, do it as soon as you can, because you're going to be expanding your possibilities. Take advantage of all the resources that are available to you, the ones that you want to, because it might not be, you might like to join a Facebook group or a book reading club or do something different, but you will find your own way. Like your heart will tell you which direction you're going to be taking. And we're all here to help. This is an amazing community. Your passion about the business is going to be ignited. You're going to be set on fire, and life will never be the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to speak with you and not been smiling from ear to ear. So thank you so much. Thank you, all three of you, for sharing time with us today. It's one of the things that you mentioned there, Thomas, that particularly resonated with me is, so I'm not sure if everybody here understands what it means to hit quarter top of the table. So qualification, whatever qualification is, quarter of the table is 3 times that, top of the table is 6 times that. When I first started, and I was looking up at those ones going, you got to be kidding me. Thomas, I know that's you and I have had that chat about, hey, I'm hitting this one, Nick, you're hitting quarter of the table. I know Elke is like right there. So these are, it's funny, it becomes your new normal. But what's neat about that is the first time if I might share, we went to top of the table and I had got by the hair of my chinny chin. Elke, this is what resonated when you were mentioning. There was nobody there that sat there and went, well, I did even more production. Everybody, first of all, was so welcoming. And on top of that, they went, here's how I did it. How did you do it? And we were all of a sudden, I'm finding myself collaborating with people that did what I did all year. They did in like January, and they're sitting here sharing ideas. So again, if there's a real takeaway, I mean, there's so much more that's on here. I mean, we've got mentoring, there's the academy, there's the app, the book club, we really want to make sure that everybody here does join on to the MDRT US and Canada Facebook page. That's where the community leaders, the people that are here, and both here and in Canada and the US, are sharing upcoming events and getting discussions going. I've hosted some micro events. Hey guys, let's talk about the budget, or let's talk about whatever is pertinent at that time, or what do we think in ways that we're going to be prospecting in an online. And those are all informal, but we put those up there. So we do encourage you to make sure that you join, because that's where a lot of our information is going to be going. And so with that, we are right at our half-an-hour mark, or promise. So I want to end any sort of formally informal, as I like to call it, comments, and welcome any and all participants. If you have any questions, we'd certainly love to chat. Don't feel that you need to stick around, but we certainly love it if you did. So I'm not sure how fast those typing is going to come in. So what we'll do in that one, as we hope, is we're going to try to reach out. There is obviously in Canada some challenges being able to reach out to people with the spam legislation. So we hope that you will take those for the way their intent is to reach out, welcome you, say, hey, we're going to be doing some of these upcoming events. So, let us know if that's ever an issue, but otherwise we hope that you will get the same encouragement that we've all been able to experience. Do join the Facebook page. We can put up upcoming information, and I strongly encourage everybody here to sign up for both, I would say, the virtual meeting and, fingers crossed again, the EDGE meeting in person. So there is a question that I'm going to take a look at. Just give me a minute. What will be the difference between MDRT and EDGE? So Nick, I'm going to throw you under the bus for that. I've got my comments, but I don't want to be the Adrian show here. So Nick, what would you say would be the difference between the two?
In the annual meeting and the EDGE?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I want to make sure I read that correctly? Between MDRT and EDGE. Okay, I think. Sorry, I was. I'm assuming that the question is more the annual meeting versus. Thank you. Okay, great. Yeah. What would you say to that?
Okay. Yeah. So the annual meeting is really the big annual hoorah. With, as Elke said, up to 15,000 people from 63 different countries around the world. There's a main platform. There's a lot of inspiration, a lot of motivation, and then a whole selection of focus groups or focus sessions that you can go to, where you can choose to pick a certain path, or you can just haphazardly move between different focus sessions. And it's really, for me, it's my fuel for the year. I go, and that's where I get juiced up. That's where I get my, okay, we got to do this, and we got to get back on the horse and get back to work. The EDGE meeting is North America only. Well, I should say it's US and Canada only. So it's a much smaller, much more intimate event. And I see that more as really more of a technical learning. It's not as much of the motivation. It's not as much of the inspiration as much as it is honing your practice. And I get so much benefit out of going to both of them in so much very different ways. But that's how I would break it down.
Yeah, that's, I think to my wife's chagrin, my intent, the first meeting in EDGE in Boston was going to be, well, which one will I continue to go to? And then I realized just how different they are. And so as much as we appreciate the question, please know it's so difficult to answer because, there are some people that now will only go to the EDGE or they'll only go to the annual meeting. And that's terrific because it means that one of those ones best resonates with them. For myself, I would echo your sentiments there, Nick, where the annual meeting for me is, I do get a lot of great information, but kind of like the concepts, if you will, the ideas and the inspiration. And then for me, the rubber hits the road when I go, as you say, on the technical side, when I might go down to, or when I do go down to the EDGE. So hopefully that'll be the best way to answer. I certainly do appreciate the question. Another question coming in there, if it was virtual last year, how would you suggest someone can get the most of it from a virtual standpoint this year? So I'm going to quickly say something, and then I'll pick on somebody else at random as well. From one of the things that I would just like to mention is what I had chatted about in our quote unquote formal talk, which was simply that we're going to host a pre-event. This is going to be like this, very informal. We're just going to host like a pre-one, and what are the ones we're looking forward to? I mean, Simon Sinek speaking is going to be amazing, but there's a lot of other ones, but not just the speakers, like or authors like that. There are world-class professional advisors that will be speaking as well and sharing ideas. So my suggestion would be the best way to join that one that we're going to host. We'll send it out afterwards, but to join that one and say, look, who are the ones that we're looking forward to? And I'm looking to get the community leaders all hopefully available for that one, where you can sit there and say, well, from my experience, I love hearing Bruce Etherington, for example, or hearing Clay Gillespie or some of these other well-known, advisors and is what here around the world. So that's what I would do. We're going to host one afterwards as well. But I'm going to, Elke, can I get you to, what would you chime in with?
For sure. I think it's such a powerful event that the number one thing I would tell everyone to do is absolutely be military, respecting and blocking your time. Because if you start picking up calls, answering emails, checking the website, checking the weather, listening to your children, just literally pretend that you live in a box and try to take in everything you can, write everything you can, and then organize, post-meeting meetings with whoever you know. So if you guys are in the group there that you know people, so you can kind of share with the same approach that Adrian has. There's so much information, and there's a thing called MDRT Speaks, where people just like start shooting their best tips, and 1 minute is like speed dating with ideas. And there's like 20 or 25 people that just go and blah, 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 blah. So your hand is on fire. And then you realize that you're a bad note taker. So you have to gather with your team members and kind of like filter what actionable items you can get started on. But again, so that's what you can do with that. But if you are not military about your time and your privacy that day, you're wasting your time, and forget the time, a golden opportunity. So really bring grandma to look after the kids. I don't know, iPad is fine. It's, you know, it's only 22 hours a day, so who cares? It's give yourself that time, because it really will catapult your business one way or the other. And you just need that one good idea that will flip your practice to the next level.
One thing that I've really enjoyed, you know, sometimes you get those gaps when you're like, hey, because I always circle my agenda booklet and I go, I want to see this person. Then every now and then you get this gap. And sometimes you just want a down moment. But what I've also done is then I go and take a look and say, well, who's attending? I look at the attendee list. And actually, past president, Mark Feldman, he was I actually wrote him and said, hey, you know what, I'm going to be, I think it was one of the LA ones, if I'm not mistaken. I said, hey, I'm going to be attending. Is there any chance that I could just meet up with you for a coffee? He spent the next hour chatting with me on stuff like this. And then I had a copy of his book that I read ahead of time and stuff like this. And, you know, so again, it is always going to be what you make of it. And then I see there was a question in there from Tim, and I was going to pick on you, Thomas, as well. So I'll read the question, and then I'll make my comment, and then Thomas, I'll turn it over to you as well. But to move up from core to the table, top of the table, most important key ingredient to break through in your own words. Maybe this is a good one for all of us. For me, besides sounding like I'm just, you know, beating a drum here, was really getting involved in the volunteering because of the people, the ones that I've met here with Nick, Thomas, and Elke, that I've just been able to get so much information from and inspiration from. For me, on the technical side, was mostly figuring out who my ideal client profile was, so I can clearly articulate it, because then it shaped all of my marketing, it shaped all of my planning, my process, what products I use, what ones I wouldn't use. My referability went up. So for me, the number one, I guess two things. Number one was ideal client profile. Number two, getting involved. You know, this global community of people. I've got one in Greece, and I'm sure we all, as soon as I said that, I'm sure everybody, my panelists here know exactly who I'm talking about. You think any of us are high energy, wait till you meet this guy, Panos. He's something else. But wow, and he's just going on fire. So really getting involved and meeting those other people and sharing the ideas. It sounds easy to say, but I really couldn't have think of two better things to do. Thomas, what would you say? Because you have gone this journey. You've gone from, you know, wondering if you're going to get in there the next year to, hey, it looks like court or maybe even top is going to happen. What would you say to that?
Thank you very much. Well, team, and to everybody in the panel. First of all, I want to clarify that I've never reached COT or TOT. However, that's what I'm aiming, right? And I actually answered by typing to Tim privately a moment ago. But I would just say exactly what you just said. The key is to become better every day. And once we know where we're going to be aiming, that's the question. Then it's a matter of finding the answers. And the answers comes from these resources that we just mentioned. Either it is from our resource room from MDRT or the people. In my case, I remember after Miami, I had several conversations with you, Adrian, about, you know, I needed to change my marketing in order for me if I want to reach to the next level. And you coached me immensely. Like it's not my interest in dealing with doctors, but yes, it is my interest in dealing with business owners. So now, just like you said in your own example, I'm doing all that to gear my practice from what I was doing, or I'm still doing in the family market, mainly to the business owner market. So I think that once you, and then the other thing is this, like this is not a 100-minute sprint, right? It's not, it's more like a marathon. It's more like a lifestyle experience. So in my case, I really do not care if reaching a goal, in my personal case of TOT, it happens in the next year, or it takes me 22 years to reach, because I'm enjoying the journey so much. I'm having so much fun that really I don't care. I'm going to be getting there, but I don't have a time set deadline in my own personal way. Some people are different. I understand that. But if you are different and you want to make it in 2 years, I guarantee you that you're going to find the resources, the people, the mentors that are going to reach you, get there in 2 years if that's what you wish. That's what I would say.
I went, people that have heard me speak before know my $2 story, which in a nutshell, I had at my first year membership, I was had a $28 a month premium decline because they found it for $26 online. And, going from now, if I didn't hear it court, I'd be like, something seriously went wrong, let alone, I've been fortunate to hit top. But at the same time, I've met people that have just barely qualified that I'm like, I'm blown away by the amount of information, the ideas, the passion. And they're, I just sit there and go, I just want to soak it all in. And actually, one thing, Thomas, that you mentioned, maybe think of something that Nick, that you mentioned, which was simply, that sort of incrementally better. And Nick, you talked about that, those atomic habits, for example. I don't know, maybe share yours, because I know your trajectory has gone nicely up as well. I love these questions, and please keep them coming in, because I'm happy to keep going as long as we can. But I'd love to hear, Nick, because again, you're another one that's walked that's true. Actually, all of us have walked that journey, but I'm picking on you at the moment.
Yeah, well, you mentioned atomic habits, and my one big takeaway from that was 1% better. Just make yourself 1% better, and 1% better from that, and then 1% better from that, and it builds over time. As far as going to COT and then to TOT, I've got a lot of friends who are in that echelon, and the one thing I hear over and over and over again is be efficient with your time and delegate anything you can. And that focuses you to spend more time doing what you do best, which is being in front of people and solving their problems. And the more people you see, the more money you're going to make, and the more families you're going to help, or more business owners you're going to help. And by being efficient with your time and getting things off your plate. My father was a 45-year MDRT member, always said, why would I do something that's $20 an hour work or minimum wage work when I'm worth so much more? I can delegate that and pay somebody else to do those things. So delegate your time, be efficient with your time, and that'll help you move up the echelon as well.
One thing I heard a while back, might have been in the academy, I can't remember, but it said only 3 things an advisor needs to do: prospect in front of clients, sitting in front of a client, delegate everything else. My system will always laugh and poke fun at me, but I have no idea how to use our CRM system. None. But you know what? My job is to be out there in front of people and showing them how we can be of help, not to figure out how to find it. So she bugs me, but she also understands that's the secret. It is those incremental. There's the challenge to that question is there's so many pathways to getting to core or top. You might be insurance focused, or maybe you're wealth focused, or you're blended, or you have a niche market like I do. Like there's just so many different ways. The best way I can say is when you attend the events like the annual meeting and Edge, figure out what you like. Go to a variety of ones, even if you think, well, I'm not really sure what that's all about. Try them out. And then you might sit there and go, oh, wait a minute, that's a different pathway to where I want to go to than the one I thought I was on. So,
and if I may add, Adrian, I think the other thing is a big part of MDRT is the whole person, and it recognizes that everybody's at a different stage. So if you have young kids, you probably cannot go full speed or as fast as you would like, or whatever your like means, right? So success really means different things to different people, the same way we tell people retirement means different things to different people. And there's an overall understanding of that, and respect, and willingness to help. And your journey is not my journey, but I think we all agree that we're all on a journey. And I've rarely seen people at MDRT where, money drives you as the challenge to get to quarter of the table or TOT or whatever, but it's really not, it's the means, it's what you can do with the money. It's not, I want to squeeze the last coin out of my client. But I've never seen that. And it's a friendly, respectful, this is my journey. I can only work, 25 hours a week on this, or right now that I don't have kids, well, I do have, but let's pretend I didn't have kids. You can work 90 hours a week if that's what you want, right? So it's whatever you want to do, and be respectful, and know that you've got a team of, it is a bit of an advisory board. And
sorry, go ahead.
And it's free.
One of my takeaways from, I think it was the Orlando meeting a couple of years ago, there was a soundbite that I took away from that was, we are in an industry where we don't get paid until we help people. And I always loved that soundbite, that in order for us to get paid to do what we do, we have to first help somebody. And so I always kind of latched onto that.
Yeah, that is so true. I know Jim Root, I think he goes, "I'm paid for performance," or words to that effect, I think. And so I quite like that. You know, it's we take a lot of pride in what we do, and it's really just about refining your craft. And the myth thing is we don't need to figure it out all ourselves. You know, really dig in. It sounds it sounds a lot of sis boom ba, and if people, they might view that way, and I would throw myself into that boat in the first few years, and then now I sit there and I want to go back and slap my older self and say, you should have gotten involved earlier, because that's when my revenue just went up. But my revenue went up, my workload went down, and my enjoyment skyrocketed. So again, I would encourage. So I don't know if we have other questions. Certainly would welcome them to do so. But a question is, I was going to put it out to the panel. So if there's any last parting words of wisdom or inspiration or ideas to do.
I was just going to mention that, as I said earlier, my father's a 45-year member. And when I started in this industry, he told me, you need to go to MDRT. You need to go to MDRT. And for years, I was like, that's your thing. You go enjoy your thing and do your thing and whatever. And in 2010, 2011, I went to my first meeting. And I think I was about 10 seconds in the door on the first day. And I looked around and went, oh, crap, I should have done this 10 years ago. And from that point forward, I as they say, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I wouldn't miss a meeting from this point forward. I love the people, I love the learnings, and it has just given me so much in both my personal and professional life. There's a store that you can go to buy all sorts of swag when you're at the meeting, and they sell plaques. And I can just sort of see the corner of the plaque there. That's actually my life member plaque. I achieved that last year after 10 years of membership. And I remember walking into the store and I pointed to the plaque and I said to the guy selling them, I said, how do I get one of those? He said, well, you have to have been here 10 years. And I was like, oh, that's never going to happen. And 10 years later, I have a plaque. So it forced me to set my sights higher than what I ever thought I could do. And it gave me a life that I just never would have anticipated. And so being a member and getting involved and volunteering and saying yes has just absolutely changed me in so many ways.
Absolutely. Elke, what would be some of your parting comments, if I may? There we go.
Sorry, the trackpad is not always cooperating. I think it's the friendly journey. You all of a sudden you realize that you've been 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 25, 30 years. It's the friendliness. It's I'll never forget when Regina Bedoya walked up to me and she realized that I spoke Spanish, and I'm like, so who are you? She goes, Regina. I'm like, okay, good. And what's up? What's your story? And she was the next president of MDRT, right? So super cool, super approachable. Something I always wave the flag. I find MDRT is very welcoming for women, and I always repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. It's I don't know, it's just different from everything else I've seen. And nothing genius is coming to my mind right now, but happy to connect with everyone or anyone on LinkedIn and we can carry on the conversation.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head there, Elke. It's just such a welcoming environment. It's something you just will not have experienced before until you experience it. And absolutely, it is so welcoming. Age, gender, whatever, it doesn't matter. Ethnicity, we're all like, welcome. What's your story? And I love that about this one. And Thomas, what would be some closing comments from you, if I may?
Thank you, Adrian. My final comments is that I mentioned before that for 22 years I was in this industry with one leg in, one leg out, and it wasn't until the moment that I was able to get that little extra effort and make it to MDRT, in which my life totally transformed itself, and the future is so good. So my say is that if this is your chosen career, you really want to be an MDRTer, because in your career, all you want to do is just keep growing and keep getting better. Guys, this is like if you're an astronaut, one thing is to be an air pilot, and another thing is to be an astronaut. One thing is to be an actor doing little comedy shows, and the other thing is being at the Oscars. In here, this is the top of the top of the top. It doesn't matter which level you are at, but at MDRT is really where you're going to make your career take off to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's pretty safe to say why I just love these three. Well, four. You don't see Lena who's in the background, but they're just such wonderful people that I'm so privileged to know. You know, my last parting comments are simply this. One is, yes, please do connect with the Facebook page, because it's the easiest way for us to send. I'm one of the administrators on there, so if I don't recognize your name, or if I look it up, I might message you to say, hey, what's your member number or something, because we want to make sure it's kept open for dialogue. But do sign up for that. It's one of those things that just allows us to really share information out there, and also timely topics and stuff too. So please do that. I'm also able to mention that I've been privileged enough to be asked back as the country chair for over the coming next year. And so the reason I mention that is, if there are people on this call today that are interested in becoming a community leader, at least finding out some more information onto that, please do let me know. And I'm sure, we can send out the information onto there to the attendees. Also, I'd like to send out that little picture that we have of all the community leaders, because these are people that are the best friends you never knew you had, and being able to reach out to them to help. So I would encourage people, if you do have an interest, can you just tell me a little bit more about that first? Do let us know, because we're going to be forming our team over the next month or so. So thank you everybody so much for attending. Thank you for the wonderful questions. Thank you for listening to us talk. This is one of the ones that was completely unscripted, but certainly very much a heartfelt welcome to all of you. So thank you, and we look forward to meeting you online, hopefully virtually, and also in person, fingers crossed. But I will encourage all of you to join us for the pre-annual meeting and to register today. Thank you all.
Bye.
Good job, everybody, and thank you.